So this week, we're joined by Chris DiCesare. Did I get that right? DiCesare. I've been practicing all day. So, whose experience as a college student in the 1980s later became the focus of the new Netflix series True Haunting. His story, which began in a dorm at Geneseo College in upstate New York, really caught our attention. As you all know, we love a good ghost story, but this one hit a bit closer to home for us. It reminded me of my own experience with the paranormal when I was about the same age. So, today we've invited Chris to share his perspective on what happened, how it's shaped his life, and what it's been like seeing his experience brought to the screen. So welcome, Chris. We're happy to have you. Thrilled to have you, in fact.
We're very excited to have you. You have no idea.
This is you're wonderful people. You have a quality show. I'm very proud to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's always so nice to hear. Yeah. So we thought we would just kind of chit chat back and forth. We both watched the show. I'm sure there are some people that are going to be listening to this that have not. So we kind of structured it to where our questions will kind of flow with the pace of the story we've seen, if that's okay with you. And then maybe you can fill in some of the gaps. If you want to add anything that we don't even ask about, feel free to do that.
There's no advanced math, right?
No.
Okay, good. I'm in.
Don't worry, I can't even do any math right now.
All right. Nope, no math. So I was thinking for a good first question, if you had to sum up your experience in one sentence, what would you say?
No pressure.
One sentence.
I was going to make it even harder and say one word, but I thought I'll give him a sentence.
In a foreign language. Oh, wow, it's getting tougher. I would say that I learned that life can take its own direction.
That's lovely. I feel like you're going to surprise us a lot with your answers and like pleasantly. Perfect.
So how did you get to bring your story to life on Netflix?
That's an interesting thing. It wasn't my idea. These things are never my idea.
Really?
Going into a room with a thing with Jeff wasn't my idea. Having that happen wasn't my idea. Seeing the Warrens wasn't my idea. About 5 years ago now, looking at the calendar, 5 years ago, I received an email from a production company in the UK, All 3 Media /Raw, and I thought that it was spam, so I deleted it. And the email was saying, we want to talk about a Netflix presentation, streamer stuff. I'm like, that's nothing. So I deleted it. About a week later, I get a second email from the same person saying, hey, I hope you got my last email. We're trying to get a hold of you. It's super important. We'd love to speak about your experiences. It's a great opportunity. And delete. Yeah, I've seen these before. And then I thought, well, they're pretty persistent. So I reached out to John Zaffis. He's the haunted collector from the show back in the tens with Brian Cano on Sci-Fi. Because I knew him. And I said, John, these people oh no, they're great. They did Race for the White House and Gold Rush and the Harry and Meghan biopic and Vatican Girl. Like, oh, okay. Well, I better respond. So I went back to my trash and pulled it out and I responded. That's how that happened. I was a little nervous because whenever you share with a media corporation, there are two things you have to be careful of. The first thing is if they'll respect you. Sometimes this want a piece that makes attention. That creates some kind of viral comments that make a fool of you. The second thing is that they'll define you forever. I might know 5,000 people in my life who know me, who've interacted with me. But in the first week the show came out, 5.2 million people saw who I was through that program. And so you have to understand that that's who I am in Czechoslovakia and Brazil and Bolivia and the Philippines. So the cool thing about the notoriety, some of Netflix or Hulu, other stations like that, is that it gives you a brand name. You can go places, you can monetize that, you can share a message much easier. The scary thing is that they will oftentimes define you. Sometimes be careful what you wish for. And my friends and I worked very, very hard to ensure that they respected us, the situation, and what we believe in. And there were times where I looked at my phone and said, hey, listen, the train leaves at 11:30. I'm back on that train unless we can do this differently. Because for us, it
Wow.
wasn't about fan fiction. It wasn't some kind of storytelling. This is our lives. And we are all very happy with how it worked out.
Did you get to watch it before it was released so you could maybe take things out or things you didn't like? Like,
You
did
would
you get an
think that'd be a
option?
thing, right? You would think that's what they do, but they
No.
worry as producers because they actually have their marching orders too. Netflix wants something, All3Media wants something. There'll be sponsors for it who need to have their message or viewpoint put in there. So they're also kind of, you know, a bit handcuffed by what they need to do as well. And so they try not to let us know what's happening. They try to isolate the people who they're interviewing from the actors, from the production team. They kind of separate us out to make sure that we don't go off the reservation, as they said in the old days. But I received an email by mistake. This email things are crazy. And it said we have to do some voiceover work. Some of the lines that were said in studio, we have to rework a bit for the timeline. And so we'd like Chris to go back in studio and do some voiceover work. It's very important that Chris not see any of the footage. And I thought to myself, oh, I see. Well, guess what? Chris will see some of the footage. And so when we went to the studio, I said, it's been about a year and a half now since I had to share my experience, and it'd be helpful to look back and see what the context was which I said these words. Is there any way to go back and see? And so the sound studio, which is different than the production studio, said, that's a great idea. And so I got to see the majority of the show in that way, in the rough cut form. But even then, I was very proud. My dad came across as being intelligent, sincere like he is. Craig came across just as he is. I remember tearing up thinking, wow, this would be beautiful. If what I'm seeing here is how it turns out in the end, if nothing else, at least my friends and I can say it was a cool experience and they respected us as human beings, which the bottom line is the most important thing to me.
Absolutely. And in the show, Jeff kind of seems like the ride or die type of friend.
Yeah,
He was all
he's
about
amazing.
it. Yeah.
He's so quiet. He was so shy back then. He talks more now. He's older, but painfully shy, but brilliant. He knew everything about painting and architecture, art, music, history. Aside from my dad, for the first 20 years of my life, he was the smartest person I ever met. And in spite of him being very shy, when he put his mind to something, he achieved it. And the weird thing about that is I was a runner, and you see that in the show. I was very competitive. Who won, who got second place. You look for, is my opponent breathing heavier? Is he sweating more? Is his leg turnover slowing down? To me, it was about the hunt, about trying to win and overcome your opponent. But Jeff could find value and positivity in anyone's achievement. He was selfless in terms of that. So it was amazing to see a person who's just a good human being doing everything he could to help another human being. I got really lucky. I won that lottery when it turns out he was next to me in the dorm, the room over, because things would be a lot different if not for John Jeff Unger, let me tell you.
Yeah, he seemed like an amazing friend. Were you pleased with the actor that they used for him?
I was. I got a big kick out of that. Until you see the final thing, and we didn't see that, any of us, until it came out. It was midnight in LA. It was 3:00 in the morning here on the 7th, and I woke up, and my alarm clock set, put a blanket over my head. It's in the morning. Put this my next line, and it goes 1, 2. I'm like, that's my voice. That's my voice. It is always still surreal, even if you know it's going to happen. It's like that's really happening. It's kind of out of body experience. And then some of the scenes, there's one of the scenes where Paul is making the loft for the room upstairs and downstairs, and the alive and kicking. It's like, come on, you guys is in here. Jeff put the camera up, young Jeff, the actor, and I think that is so Jeff. I was amazed. The scene where he has to apologize, where I like to formally apologize.
Yeah.
That's how he acted and behaved. Got the paper
Yeah.
out. He was just an amazing human being. I can picture him as an alchemist in the 1600s. I can picture him as an Oxford University student in 1800. When I first met him, he was living in his parents. They had an estate. They're well off. His dad was an architect. Amazing story. His father escaped from World War II, the Nazis, and made a career as an architect and built from nothing,
Wow.
from scratch, to an amazing lifestyle for them. But Jeff's room was the entire basement of this estate, and you could run horses through there if you wanted to. He had glass blown bottles from 1810. He had the coins and swords. It was such an amazing thing. He was such an amazing person to be around, but never once did he brag. Never once did he put anyone down. So again, like I said, life takes certain turns you can't always anticipate. I had no idea when I first met him and shook his hand what a vital role he would play in all of our lives.
So did he actually always have his camera with him like that?
Yes, and the toga party scene, that toga party, I believe was the night before I met Ed and Lorraine Warren, so it'd be, I think, January 29th. Some of the dates in the show are a bit off because they had to film outside with the trees. They had to kind of compress the dates. So a couple of dates are off, but I'll never forget that. He was so quiet, and my friend said to me, "Are you going to go to the toga party?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just reading a magazine." Jeff is going. What? Jeff is going. I'm like, there's no way Jeff is going to go to that. There's people there. There are girls there.
You
there's
have
no
to
way
say
it's gonna
too many
happen.
girls.
That's so right. And so I had to go down the hall. I said, "Jeff," and I couldn't believe it. He was in a toga. I never saw his feet before. I'm like, "What the heck?" Usually 4 layers. He's like a never knew kind of guy. Like, what? What are you doing? He goes, "Some good pictures." I thought, that's it. You're not going to experience it. You're going to observe and take the pictures. It was fascinating. But even when he was doing that, he was looking out for me. There's one little scene where young Chris arrives at the college camp with his dad, and then he meets Linda, and then Judy walks by and she goes, "Hello, Romeo." Well, that's my nickname back then. It could be Romeo because all the girls said I was cute back then. But I was innocent. I never did anything. But it was amazing to see all of the ways they put in the facts of what happened to us in such a cool way, and the actors were brilliant. They reminded me of all my friends. I'm so honored by that. And now they're a part of this history, of this experience.
Yeah. I was curious about how that made you feel to see other people pretending to be the people you know so well.
Well, my guy is taller, handsomer, and smarter, so I win on that one. But it's really cool, and you don't know who they're going to pick to portray you, how they
True.
view you. But I thought it was kind of cool, and he wasn't the original actors. They had a Jeff cast. They had Linda Beth. They had to find no Chris. There's no Chris. And so, gentleman Wyatt Dorian, a young actor, he was first a model then an actor. He applied for one of the smaller roles, and I thought, he looks a bit like Chris. He sounds a bit like Chris. So they put him through the ringer. Hours of auditions against each person and things, and he won that role. And now he's doing very well. He did a great job portraying young me, and now he's in Gen V, the spinoff from The Boys. I think some other characters there. Yeah, so he was young as a kid. Of course, I was young as a kid. He was shy. He was quiet too, and he just decided, I want to change my life and not be picked on. And he started working out, taking care of his body, and following his dreams. So even not including our experience ourselves that we had as people, the people playing us are pursuing their dreams as well. It's really cool to see.
Absolutely. So Montana, you had a good question up next that I'm very curious about too.
Oh,
No math.
oh math. Trust me, I failed math so many times.
No math.
And if you add a baby brain on top of math, no.
Right.
Yeah, our editing has changed a little bit. Just kidding.
Baby brain is real, okay? It is so real. I never believed it until now.
It is absolutely.
Remember, I could not remember how to spell the word closet the other day for the life of me.
You're thinking for two.
Thank you. I couldn't even think of the word baby wipes yesterday. This is my life now. So yeah, at the beginning of episode 1, it states testimony has been dramatized. Are there any examples that come to mind?
Well, that just means, technically speaking, that they reshot things. In other words, dramatized means they're going to go back in time, have actors recreate the events that we lived from. A lot of times the movies or shows say based on a true story, and you find out it's 8% based on the story. A lot of the movies that are very popular are based on a true story, but the people will tell you that's 8% true. Most of it's not true. This name is correct. That date is correct. And most of it's just created. It's just fiction. And but that's a booming industry. People like to be involved in that. But that wasn't our case. We were just hoping that when they did present our experience, they do it in a positive way. And they filmed enough to make 3 hours, just in case. But the other story was only 2 episodes. They can't make it 5 or 8 or 10. That they cut us down from 3 hours to 1 hour and 40 minutes because they had to find a balance. Initially, Netflix asked the studio to create episodes about 3 provable hauntings. 3 hauntings that proved something happened. It wasn't made up. It wasn't kids in the basement smoking pot, seeing eyes in the fireplace, but something they could prove. And they had a few cases, but in the end, only 2 cases of hundreds panned out where they could say, we believe something actually happened here. And one is the case of April Wilson and her family in Utah. And that was one of my friends and I, and they didn't really want to do that, Netflix. The first reaction that we got back was, indirectly, was that we were dusty. D-U-S-T-Y, dusty. I said, what does that mean? Well, you're kind of like old white guys, you know, it's not really hip anymore. You're 40 years ago. I'm like, ow,
Wow.
hey,
Oh.
whoa, I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But I said to the production company, I said, I'll tell you what, when you play them the interviews and they look at the evidence and the notes, see what happens. And sure enough, they have commissioners. And those commissioners said, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. The friendships, the growth of the people as teenagers, facing trauma, the photographs, then they're 100% all in. Then they loved it. So it goes to show you we have our own lens. Sometimes it can help us, and sometimes it stops us from reaching out to people who otherwise would help us because we just automatically make a snap judgment. So I'm very thankful that our actions and our words overcame for them what we looked like in our age.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very captivating and very entertaining.
I thought it was pretty cool, and the music and everything. Oh my gosh, I'm still on cloud nine from it. And
Can't
I got
imagine.
I got my first fan mail today. People asking for autographs in the mail with the card they sent.
Oh,
That's so
Baseball
awesome.
players, you know, dear Bobby Mercer, my name is Chris. I'm 8 years old, so I'm actually getting. It's such a
Aw.
cool thing.
that is awesome. So, were there any parts that they embellished or made to seem more creepy than they actually were? Like, for example, there was a part where I think it was a janitor or something, and it seemed like he had an encounter. Like, did that happen, or was that something they threw in as filler?
That's the winter break scene.
Yes.
Yeah, I had heard something like that, but I wasn't there for that because I was on winter break. The interesting thing is that I was trying to keep things quiet. I don't want anyone to know. And so I couldn't tell you for sure who was saying what around. I just knew that people were talking about this left and right. I'd hide behind the big old-fashioned mailboxes outside mailboxes when the papers came, newspaper reporters. I don't want to talk to them. I'd hide. So I really didn't want this spread. I think that I think the characters as developed are perfect. I think the interviews are amazing. If there's one deviation from what actually happened that would be noticeable for us as the survivors, I don't want to ruin anything. It'd be the final interaction scene with the spirit, with Tommy. They changed the location of that moment because they said they let me know ahead of time so I wouldn't have blow a gasket because I wanted things to be perfect. They said we just can't keep shooting everything in the same room with the same room with the same room forever. Eventually you have to move things around, and so they thought for audience involvement, investment, just to make it seem more diverse and more experiential, they moved that final scene out to the woods by what they called the torture tree. In reality, that actually happened in the room. I went in there, I broke the priest's blessing, and I spoke with it. But there were the same words used, the same appearances were had. It's just they warned me that would happen. Then some of the dates are missed because this happened for a number of months. You know, they have a camera crew and they have to pay everybody, and so they were able to film for about 5 weeks. They don't have months and months to film, and so with the outdoor scenes. Those were filmed in upstate New York and parts of Canada. And so the full foliage began to fall away. So you had the gold and the red and the brown leaves, and you have some leaves and it's bare. So they had to compress the dates. Instead of it being April, push things forward. Instead of March, push things forward. So, but aside from the dates themselves, and I can tell you the dates if you want to know them, the real ones, and that last scene, it rings very true and it is very, very good. You know, I couldn't be more happy than I am with it now. The greatest gift to me is my father. He's 82 years of age. I just turned 82. My whole life, I really wanted to make him happy, make him proud. I ran because he ran, you know. I became a teacher. He was a teacher. But I never really heard those words. He always inspired me. He always challenged me. He always pushed me. But I never heard the words he was proud of me. That's just maybe part of his technique of motivating me.
That tough love.
Right? But there it is. Now I can put this Netflix show on forever. 5 years from now, 20 years from now, see my dad, hear his voice, and hear him say, he was the kind of son you'd be proud of. And so for me, that is the greatest gift.
That was actually one of my questions I was going to ask about, but you already answered it. So just the dynamic with your dad and how it did seem like you felt a certain amount of pressure to make sure that he was proud of you. And
I
was,
wanted that. He worked 3 jobs when I was a kid. My parents got married so young. My mom left college to have me. I mean, I ruined everyone's dreams in a sense. I was, here I am, and they could have said no thanks, but they opted to, be married and keep me and raise me and read to me and talk to me and love me and feed me. And as I get older, I realized that everyone has that in their life. And what I took for granted is a gift. It's not an obligation or a requirement. And so as I get older, I realized, I should really be thankful for them. There was no drinking, no drugs, there was no gambling, no fights. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
yeah.
Like the Brady Bunch. And I didn't know as a kid how to say to them thank you and to win their affection. Years later, my mom, she turned at that point in time 70. I read her book to her. When I was a kid, she'd be a good night moon. And so when she turned 70, I took her on stage. I read that book to her.
Oh.
This time she was on my lap. Just let her know I loved her, and she gave everything for me. And it's better than spending money on her. It's better than just to let her know, Mom, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, because we didn't really hear much about your mom.
No, she didn't want me to do this. She said, no, don't do it. If you do this, Chris, it'll happen again. I worry about that. She said, you were a happy kid. You were happy. You're popular. You were just healthy. And then that thing happened, and you're different. You're just like a different human being. I'll always love you, but it changed you so much. I thought to myself, who is this person? And so when it came down for them to try to get us to speak, I thought, okay, it's cool. My dad's like, I don't know if to do it. Your mom's upset. But eventually he thought it'd be interesting to support me and be there for me because it was a long time since it happened. And my mom just, please don't, I don't want this, but I'm going to hope it's okay for you. And now she understands that we weren't made fun of. The thing didn't come back, and so,
Right.
but her fear was of love. If you create somebody as Montana's doing, you're so invested in them, you begin to love them more than yourself. And you don't want your baby to get hurt no matter how old you are or they are. So again, going back to the idea of how lucky I am, part of me being on Netflix is hard work of trying to share in a certain way. Part of it is determination for surviving those days. But the biggest part is people around me caring about me.
I have a
Does it almost
21-year-old
feel-
baby that I know exactly what you mean. He will always be my baby. I'm sorry,
Does
Montana.
it
what
almost
were you
feel
gonna say?
like freeing telling your story in a way?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a catharsis. Because it wasn't like today. Back in the 80s, it was the occult. There were
Yeah.
no podcasts and ghost adventures and movies, nothing. And so when these things happened, people thought maybe you're possessed by the devil. You had to, go to a priest and, get exorcised, or perhaps you were like some kind of angel on earth and they better listen to your words because you're going to save the planet. It was very, very, very strange, so it wasn't like today. And I'm trying to think how that worked, but I knew this meant something beyond myself, but I didn't know what. And so for 20 some odd years, almost 25 years, I kept it inside. And while I was doing that, people talked about the Ghost Boy up in the area, who he was, what it was. But I never knew that. I was pushing the car shop right. I was, mowing my lawn. And then it turned out that people wanted to know who we were and what was going on. And well, that was
Oh,
weird. I'm sorry. I know what happened.
that was on our end. It was so wild. It sounded like you were possessed and you were talking about exorcisms.
Of course. Of course.
Like,
Well,
what
then,
is
yeah.
How
happening?
life works. You see?
Welcome, yeah. This happens to us all the time. This is why we're Weekly
Okay, good.
Bizarre.
Everything's okay. I'm like, oh no, what's happening? I
No.
was right.
I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it is a great relief to be able to share that because now I don't have to save it anymore. It's out there and I can recover. I can now look at other things, free up that space in my brain and my mind and move forward. So it is a very healthy thing for I think all of us to share, including Linda, who held it in for almost 40 years.
Yes. And I mean, mental health awareness then versus now, it's just nothing. I mean, it still has leagues to go, but even back then, you didn't talk about it. You didn't really know much about it even. So like for you to be thinking something was wrong with you and not able to say anything about it, I can't imagine how that must have been for you.
Yeah, it was bizarre because my dad raised me to be a problem solver. That's one of his goals, to have me problem solve. And, he'd say, "You don't panic, Chris. A pilot can't panic. A surgeon can't panic. Just don't panic." And in that moment, I panicked. So I was actually more frightened of the fact that I lost my control of myself and my emotions than what I actually saw, because that was devastating. And so I tried to think, well, what's going on? Are there drugs in my food? Is there a gas leak in the room? Is it a practical joke? Is it SAD? Is it hypnosis? Is it a hologram? Is it mass hysteria? And the interesting thing about that process of trying to disprove the paranormal, we ended up with the paranormal. So many people go to a location. It's fun, to explore and wonder. They have their K2 meters and their flashlights, and they spend big money to go to a haunted house. They're looking for something, not with me, and then they might see something in the corner and think, huh, there's a figure there. I think it's a ghost. It's kind of tall. It might have a hat. Abraham Lincoln. It's Abraham Lincoln. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. They're looking for this attention to prove they did something really cool. I was the exact opposite. I asked Jeff to throw the photographs out, to get rid of things, to get rid of the notes. To me, it was a horrifying experience. Like I was brutalized. If you're attacked or mugged in a street corner, you don't go back there. So for me,
Yeah.
I didn't want any proof. And if I give you a quick example, suppose you think that your partner is cheating on you. You can hire someone to follow them around, pay a detective to follow them. But what happens if they come back a week later with an envelope? Here you go. What's that? Here's your stuff. What's in the envelope? What you were looking for. Hold on. So the person I love is with somebody? Are they happy? Is it with my friend? Is it my bed? Is it like, I don't know if you really want to see that. And so depending on what your lens is in that moment, I wasn't investigating, I was surviving. So for me, any proofs we had just pulled me back further into the moment. People say, where are the back scratch photos? There's no pictures of your back. We didn't see any photographs of the back. That's huge. Oh, Jeff wanted that. After he found me on the ground of the floor of the bathroom, bloody, naked, passed out, he put a towel around me. He pulled me into his room, and Beth was there. Ed was there too, but Ed's not in the actual docu-series. And they said, we're going to the hospital. I'm like, no, we're going to the hospital. I wouldn't go because they're afraid they would sedate me, that they would restrain me, that they would find me. So instead we got cotton swabs, bandages, and peroxide, did it that way. But Jeff said, I'll never forget his words, the natural light is fading, looking at the window of his room. We have to take a picture of the scratches now for it's too dark. He's ready to flash with that, just, make them blur out, or bleach out rather. And I looked at him and I said, no. So what do you mean? I said, do not take the picture. If you're my friend, you will not take that picture. He goes, I understand. This is evidence. I'm like, Jeff, if you're my friend, you won't do it. The reason is, I didn't know if he was there for the ghost boy or for me. I felt so alone. I felt so battered down. I just had to know that I still mattered, and not the investigation, not the ghost. So to his credit, he said, you know what? I'm your friend. And he put the camera down. Looking back, I'm sad I said that. I'm sad he said they agreed not to take the picture, but that is the fact. And I'll tell you something. People can debate the ghost, the haunting, everything in it for 1,000 years. But one that they can't debate, Jeff was my friend in that moment.
And a good friend he seems to be.
So your roommate was Paul.
Yes.
The way they depict it in the show, that your dorm room was actually really cool. How they did it. Did you really do it like that?
Yeah.
Because that was so cool.
Looking back, I wish I could be there now just to experience it again. Yeah, when I got to, that was September 3rd, I got to the college that day, Erie Hall. I had met Paul the prior semester. I was in Genesee Hall the year prior. It was my second year. So I wasn't a freshman, I was a sophomore. And I met Paul the prior spring running around the track above the ice rink, indoor track. That's where we met. He played sports and things. He said, hey, you want a room next year? I said, sure. So I just arrived and I came to the room, and there he was putting up with his father, this thing, this wooden tree house. And like, what is that? I said, is that legal? That's in the show, of course, too. That's like how I was. Like, you can do that.
Mhm.
Goes, oh, yeah, make more space. It was so cool. And
It
we
was.
were downstairs. So we had these two
Mhm.
ladders. So no bed, just mattress. So my mattress and his mattress. Not much room up there, but you didn't need much room with the ceiling. And then down below we had our desk, we had a couch. It was crazy. We had Christmas lights below it. We had a fish net with those starfish and beautiful things. It was like a menagerie. It was beautiful. There were posters, there were medals, it was a really beautiful place to be before the ghost got there. They called it a loft, so that was kind of pretty cool, and we liked it a lot. The only scary part was you didn't know it was underneath you. Well, you remember in the first episode, it's like, 1, 2, 3, like, right? That was scary because you don't know who's down there, and
Yeah.
if you're in the air, you really can't jump right away because you break your leg. You're up to 5 feet in the air, so it kind of impedes your movement. So if you're scared, you're like, okay, I can't jump, I can't see, no one's down there. Great. And I remember when the recorder went on, I went down there to turn it off, and Paul said, "Did you do it right?" So they really studied what we said. They really did a good job of that. Paul left, as they indicated. I have not seen Paul in 40 years. I spoke to his mom, and she said, "You know what? I try to tell him to speak about these things." He says, "No, the past is the past." 9 years after it happened, he spoke one time. He spoke to a researcher named Alan Lewis. Alan found him at his house. He sent his family out, so he's privacy, and he said, "Listen, let me tell you something. That was scary. I left because the ghost said, 'Leave Chris alone.'" I used to see this thing floating over his head when he slept. I never told him that to freak him out, but I used to at least to watch him as he slept. It was scary. And he said, "Only live in new houses, not old houses." He's happy that I was alive. He felt bad that he left, but he made the choice that was best for him. So while I miss him, we each walk our own path. I respect his choices.
I can completely relate to that. I won't get too much into my story because it's not about that today, but one of the biggest reasons that we were so interested in this is because it does have a lot of parallels with something that I experienced. And that is a part where, it escalated so fast for us that we felt like we didn't have a choice but to leave. And it was a house we were renting. Things had gotten to a point where we didn't feel safe anymore. And we called our landlord that day and we're like, "We are leaving today." And that's what we did. So I can relate with how he must have been feeling in that moment where he knew that he didn't really feel like he had a choice but to leave for his safety.
Jessica, my grandfather fought in World War II, and we walk in the mall sometimes as a kid. He goes, he served. How do you know? I can tell by the way they walk, but I can tell they served, or saw combat. Same thing with people who have experienced rough hauntings, experienced these tough things. People use certain words, they have certain reactions. You say, "You know what? That is sincere. That's organic. You can't make that up." It's almost like a survivor's code,
Mm-hmm.
like our Masonic handshake. Certain reactions, you only do those things and say them if you suffered the pain of going through them. It's not always a cool, fun thing, right? And so I appreciate what you're saying because I found it to be the case as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it's almost like the spirit, whatever you want to call it, is kind of testing the waters. It's like it starts off very subtly, and then I just noticed that with your story. It's the same thing. Like it's slowly just like you give it an inch, it takes the inch and goes even further and further until
right, just does it. There's no conversation, there's no discussion, just there it is. And it's cool because in a way, looking back, that I don't really know when it started. I just know what I heard. In other words, so it could have been there longer, but I just know when I started to be aware of it. And that's a little scary. And then when I tried to hopefully resolve the situation, I don't know if that was successful. I believe that it was. But I suppose I won't know until it's my turn to go to sleep, right? Then I'll know more. So there are always questions in your mind. It happened 40 years ago, and I know it's foolish, but I still wonder. It happened once before. That means it can happen again. I think it's called PTSD, where you're not quite comfortable. I knew a young woman one time who her boyfriend domestic violence, and he hurt her pretty badly. And for a long time, any door closed, boom, any sound, boom. She was so traumatized by that moment. It took her a long time to rewire her brain to say to herself, "I'm probably safe this time now." So yeah.
yes, it definitely takes time to get over something as traumatic. And that's the thing that is kind of frustrating with things being glorified like this today. Like it's entertainment. I get it, it is to a degree, but when you go through it, it's so different. So different. You're terrified.
Yeah. I asked some people I've met over the years who do the TV shows where they investigate, and some well-known people. And I asked them, "How do you do that?" For example, I'll share my experience, but you're actually creating experiences. So there's no sound. They knock on the wall. They do it 2, 3 times. The reaction makes the reaction sounds good that way. They're actually entertainers. I said, "How do you come to grips with the fact you're not necessarily lying to people, but you're not telling them the truth. And he said, listen, let me tell you how this works. When we go out there, we're going to these places. We let those places be recognized for fundraising. We save those places. We let people know about safety regimen when you're going to a place like that. We give them vocabulary. We give them investigation modeling, how to do these investigations. We're doing a service, really. People say don't go to McDonald's. It's not good for you. People go to McDonald's, right? So that's how I view it. There are times you said, I wish we could stay longer because once in a while something does happen. We get a filming schedule. Sometimes I get to a new place, something happens, they kick the wall, we pretend that's what's going on. But in the end, he says, it allows us to share locations, guidelines, vocabulary, and make it so people can talk about these things in a mainstream format. And I thought, you know what? Fair enough.
It's
I wondered
also
about that.
it's also harsh too that nowadays it's so open, and like back then, like you were bullied for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really hard.
Yeah, they did a good job of showing people's disgust or lack of comfort with what was going around me, and that was tough. But the harder part for me wasn't that, because I was pretty tough and I would fight back sometimes. Sadly, I'd have to do that. But the harder part was when your friends who you knew for a long time would say things like, you know what, you just stay here. We're going to go out without you. Just you rest. You take care of yourself. I'll give you a call. No, we'll call you. Don't call us. We're fine. Oh, okay. So you don't make, no, just you can stay here. I'm like, so do you want it? No, we'll get back to you.
They didn't want to be associated with that.
Fine, don't worry about it. I'm cool. And then person after person, I hadn't changed. I was the same person they knew. Things around me changed. And I was talking about the idea before about defining, when Netflix and defining who you are. That happened already to me, so I'm wary of it. I told them my name was Chris, I'm a runner, and all these things are going on. And the world said, no, you're the Ghost Boy. And it was very tough, even friends that I had. And the interesting thing is, we like to think, we do this sometimes, we can look at somebody and judge them. Sometimes that can happen in first impressions. But let me tell you that I was surprised by just who was strong and who wasn't. There are some people who talk a good talk and they posture well and they have lots of success. When uncertainty comes, they run for the hills. They run so fast. Other people who you think, well, they're kind of shy. They're not really, I don't know if they have in them to be strong. They're kind of like a wallflower. They stood there. That wallflower became a fence post, became a rock hit yourself onto. So I learned a lot about that. People are stoners, they're geeks, they're nerds, they're jocks, all these things. We pretend these games, right? But you don't know who you really are, sadly, until something bad happens, because there's no time to pretend anymore. You learn about yourself, the good things, and the bad things. And when someone still likes you through the good things and the bad things, that's your friend. Doesn't matter what kind of clothes you wear, how much money you have. If they like you at your worst, hold on to them, because that's a friend for life.
Jessica.
Yeah, that was.
You go ahead.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you if you considered Craig a bully.
No, he's a fascinating person. I was a little fearful of being around him because he was such a free thinker. I was brought up in a very structured household, which I really appreciated. He was brought up on a commune, a hippie commune. Free love, free this, free that, free everything. Totally different than I was raised. He was so outspoken. I remember one time these three young ladies were walking through the dormitory, and he's like, excuse me, what are those pants you're wearing? I'm like, oh, God, what are you doing? These are Jordache. Yeah, I see that. Is that your name on the back of the pants? No, it's Jordache. How much you pay for them? $85. You're paying to put someone else's name on your pants? I'm like, oh, my God, Chris, stop. He would say, Chris, you always walk the same way to class. You learn nothing that way. Each day, walk a different way to class to learn new things, meet new people. I'm like, this guy's. So he was so different than I was. I got to where I was by repeating my formula for success, running this way, getting to a certain time. So my structure led me to succeed. His disregard for structures, blow it all up, scared me. And yet, in the end, it was his idea to go and speak to this thing, the outside the box thinking that allowed me to potentially stop it and make everything better for everybody. So, sometimes yin and yang, I guess they call that, opposites can attract.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. I never cursed. He always cursed. I thought it was hilarious. I thought his character, you having a drink? Just one. Whoa, slow down, man, slow down. I mean, he's a human being, but we didn't speak for 30 some odd years. I called him. I called him for the first time on the phone yesterday. We're going to get it
Wow.
together this Saturday, all of us. We're going to go, Friday first, we're going to go to the Erie Hall. Me and Craig and Linda and Father Charlie. We're going to go to Erie Hall and see the kids there. They want to meet us and see us. And then the next day on Saturday, we're having a watch party for free, a Q&A with all the people there. It's going to be wonderful. So I talked to him. It's really nice. It's like no time has passed.
Are you going to
Well, I'm
wear
a little
togas?
grayer, older, but other than that, yeah.
You going to wear togas to your little meetup?
Oh, it'd be scary now. It was too, you know what's funny? It's like, I say this. I used that picture from my book because that's the last day of my life before the ghost came. That's the last day I had being happy. So that's me before. And then I write about me during and after. I thought that'd be an interesting thing to show how carefree I was. Everything was perfect. I wasn't in the basement playing Ouija boards. I wasn't trying to hate the world. I was so happy. For me, the paranormal would be a bad thing. It distracts me. I wasn't trying to prove anything. Sometimes they have this theme where it's always the outcast, right? Who sits in the basement and they ponder and they wonder and they simmer and then they strike back. It's right. That wasn't me at all, you know. And so I think that's what makes it somewhat interesting is that not only was I not looking for it, I didn't want it to happen.
So on that note, what did you think about what Lorraine Warren had said about how these things can be attracted to you for one reason or another? Do you believe that is true?
When I was a teenager, when I was 19 in college, I thought that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Get two magnets. Let me show you how wrong she is. Like poles repel. Doesn't work that way, Lorraine. But in the back of my head, I thought, but she seems like she knows what she's talking about. When she spoke, I knew she believed it. It didn't matter if I did it. I knew she did. And I like that. If you're talking with someone, agree or disagree, if you feel they're not lying to you, it helps. Then I realized over time, she wasn't talking about science, she's talking about people. She's talking about energy. She's talking about reactions, spiritual things. And it turned out that I think she was right. You know, she wouldn't shake my hand. That was a little embarrassing too. I thought at least she would shake my hand, you know, right? Nope. And years later, I'm going to say, not that it matters exactly, maybe 31 years later, I was speaking at a little restaurant near here, and her daughter showed up, Judy, with her husband, Tony. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you're the ghost boy. You're Chris. My mom loved you." I said, "No, no, it's somebody else. Let me tell you what happened with your mom and me. Your dad actually put his hands on me and tossed me off the stage." "No, no, yes. Your mom wouldn't shake my hand." I thought, was I bad? She said, "No, no." She said, "When I was younger, my parents would go on these tours on the colleges, and it scared me. I don't like this talk. I still don't like this talk," she said. So as they presented these slides and these EVPs, I'd be in the car. I would do crossword puzzles and word searches. When she was at Geneseo, that's her college, right? I'm like, yeah, when she was there, she came back and you said, there's this one kid with blonde hair. His aura was so bright, was so broad, I couldn't even think. It blocked me from sensing. It blocked me from reading, and that's what I'm there to do, to make connections, to read and sense. So I had to send him away. But he was fascinating. What an amazing kid that was. So for 30 some odd years, I thought she didn't like me. I better not go near her. I'm bad for her. It wasn't the case. That, you know, they were being paid to entertain, to interact, do those things, and that's what it was. And so you can't see them, but up above my bookcase, I have two Spanish monks. They're from Ed Lorraine's, from his office in Connecticut. He got them from Spain, so they were supposed to put in my room. It's very nice, and I respect the fact that after all these years, she remembered who I was, and it wasn't a bad thing. I got a phone call last week from a gentleman who was in a room that they went to and visited that night when they went their ghost tour of the college. So it's kind of cool to see other people who were there that night and to see. But that experience what made Jeff really invest. He's like, okay, wait a second. If she's a psychic and she's supposed to be the best there is, and she's doing this with you, something's up. There's something about you more than the room, more than anything else that it wants with you. It's calling your name. So at that point in time, he began to write everything down in the journals, day after day after day. My
Wow.
thought was it would help me go to a psychiatrist or psychologist and give me a right kind of pill or therapy. But it turned out to be an insight, window into our life, the trauma, the fear, the thought processes. And any show who's ever covered what we did has used those notes extensively to say, okay, this is what it felt like. So once again, Jeff, kudos to him. He was just there at the right time and the right way to make this something that we got through in a way that we can explain and share.
Now, did you two stay in touch throughout all these years, or did you kind of drift apart as well?
It's interesting how life works.
It is. Yeah.
I was Jeff was my best man at my wedding. Then I was the best man at his
Oh,
wedding. That was really cool. But then people have families, and his family, his wife, uh, became a born again Christian and decided that this is something bad to have. She was quoting the Bible, talking about how devils disguise themselves as angels and things like that. She was uncomfortable. So, he's his wife. She's raising a family. So to make her comfortable, he tried to destroy everything and decided to separate out from our friendship just to keep her relaxed and calm and comfortable while they raised their family. And so after a number of years, we just kind of drifted apart. I respect people's choices. It's not what I want from them. It's what do they want to give to me and vice versa. So, and then around 2009, so we're talking 20 some odd years again, there was a production company director. So won a few little awards that way, but that's how we became friends again by talking about the events. And I think the most amazing thing of that, and this might sound a little odd, but I'm a person who cares about people. The last day of college, I said to Jeff, this is all so crazy, like the ghosts, all these things. It almost seems so unreal. What did it mean? I said, but I have a feeling that one day you and I'll be walking some small town on some sidewalk. It'll be snowing out. We'll be walking, and we'll realize what it was all for. He goes, that's cool. We've been to our parties and things. In 2009, we went to this small little town of Maybrook, New York, just a little tiny studio to film. And a small town, sidewalk began to snow. And I'm like, oh my God, Jeff, this is our conversation from 25 years ago. And what are we doing? We're sharing the experience. And we both got chills. And so we realized at that point in time, you know what? Let's keep sharing. Maybe this is what we're supposed to do so people can understand that they're not alone, that people can say that we survived. And how do you survive? What are your coping skills? Because whatever your crisis, and it could be depression, it could be addiction, it could be loneliness, it could be loss of a child, it can be poverty. We're all trying in our own life to solve for the X in our life's equation. Because our X is so rare, right? People want to talk about it, but it's no better or no worse than anyone else's X. And so when I speak in public, which I'm getting better at now, I always talk about what brings us together as people. We all fear, we all hope, we laugh, and we cry. And I tell them, listen, what I learned was to appreciate every single day because it is not promised to you. So taste your food, listen to music every day, hug somebody every day, do something to make each day count. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, whether they say ghost or no ghost, or this is the wrong time, and it doesn't matter to me. People fall in love and people say, well, that's stupid. No, it's not. You have your chance to fall in love. Give them a chance to fall in love. Let them have their moment. And people, well, that's silly because you can't fall in love with someone. You got to compromise. You got to share. You got to share your money. And then you argue about things, you get your freedom. But you know what? Even though most marriages end in divorce and most relationships break up, we still like them because someone in that moment is happy when we smile. We're happy when they laugh. We like the human touch. Someone values something in us that makes us special to them. And so there's a part of all of our spirits and souls that likes to be loved and to love back. And so because of that beauty in our soul, we take risks of falling in love and having connections. Just my thought on that.
Beautiful thought. Beautiful thought.
Speaking of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because I think it's really cool that you got to experience like one of their lectures and meet them. Did you not want to reach out to them because you thought that she didn't like you, or just you didn't want to draw more attention to yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, when I left the stage, I felt ashamed. And everyone else shifted their hand and talked to them, but I was bad. I was broken. I was wrong. I was not cool. And people saw that too and said, here we go again. There's Ghost Boy. What's going on with him now? Right. And so I don't want to pursue her and have her do it again. Like, oh, no, don't bother me. I don't want to be rejected again by someone who's so famous, so respected, so well known. It's like, I don't know if I can handle that. It's like when you go back to the abusive boyfriend again, like, whoa, don't do that. Just don't do it to yourself. It's not going to end well. It never does, right? That's why I kind of thought of that. And thankfully, her daughter reaching out and saying hello was huge for me. But I have to tell you that at the time, I didn't know how cool she was. I knew that she dressed really well, that she was very regal. Her back was straight. Her hair was up like a movie star from the 40s. I knew that was cool. And I loved how she spoke. I loved her passion. And Ed was a very strong personality. I mean, he directed things like a cop directs traffic. He directed everything. Smart, strong, in control. There were amazing characters like Elvis and Colonel Parker, the paranormal. Just like that. It was quite a show, and you don't have to believe in the paranormal to enjoy it. I mean, Star Trek, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things aren't real per se, but we love those things, right? Just being there was really cool, especially now looking back, how much people think about them and care about them, and they say, I wish I could have met them. It was cool to meet them in the flesh. Again, I tell you, I'm lucky, I'm blessed. I am.
I think that's really cool that you can say you met them.
Yeah.
It is. I kind of misunderstood that part, I think, a little bit, because to me, how I interpreted that was that she didn't want to have anything to do with whatever was connected to you, but that wouldn't make any sense.
Because they did that for a living, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to hear your take on that.
I did have a chance to meet her right before she passed, because I live about 45 minutes from where their house and their museum was. But Judy said to me, just so you know, she has dementia. She's not going to know who you are. She remember meeting you. She talks about her chickens, roosters a lot. That's about it. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to see her that way. I don't want to make her uncomfortable in case she senses things again. And so I know people will say, what is wrong with you, Chris? I didn't know if me doing that would be bad for her or not in that state that she was in, because Ed was long since passed. And so I did not take that chance to go see her. But again, not because of any kind of misunderstanding, or just didn't want her to think of me in a negative way in that state. And so that's what I did to respect who she was. And I don't regret that.
I respect that.
What do you think about the comedian owning her house now and Annabelle? Right? Any opinions on that? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know him personally. I watch some of his shows on TV. He's kind of funny, and Elton, his partners, seems like a pretty upstanding guy. I know that it was in disrepair. There was mold everywhere. They couldn't pay the taxes. Things were falling apart. So in one respect, it's nice that will be preserved as a location. But I always had misgivings about the entire concept. The Annabelle doll, for example. Those of us, and there are probably many of us, who experience something very negative with this, would say, well, wait a second. If she's that dangerous, why would you risk bringing people to her? If she's that dangerous, why would you bring her out on tour? If you really believe that there's something bad about her, you want to isolate her and not bring her to expose her to children and to people who are innocent, didn't know. And the interesting thing is, Lorraine and Ed did not bring her out on tour. They brought a duplicate, a dummy that looked like her. They would never bring her out that way. And the person I met and talked to, Dan Rivera, he's gone now. People say, oh, because he was with the Annabelle tour. I don't know that. But I have great misgivings about that. So you're going to bring this thing on a plane. You're going to bring this thing on the highway. And right. The thing is, there's always been this legend about how a tough dude went to see her at the place, and he mocked Annabelle as stupid, and then he got in his motorcycle and he got killed right after that. That, oh my gosh, that cemented the legacy of the curse of the Annabelle doll, this demon in her. But that didn't really happen. What really happened was it was a priest who came to visit and wanted to bless the doll. And at one point in time, he tossed it aside to say, with this prayer saying, you are done. And Ed Warren turned to the priest and said, your prayers are strong, but I think the devil's probably pretty stronger. And the priest said, no, we're good. And then the priest got in an accident in a car on the way home. But they didn't want to besmirch his reputation. They wanted to besmirch the church or religion. So the story became like the telephone tag into a man on a motorcycle. So it's interesting to know the facts and the lore. I met Christopher Lutz from Erie Hall Horror. I spoke to Andrea Perrin. I mean, when I go to these places, I meet all the folks you see and read about, and we talk person to person. I spent 3 days, 70 hours in a hotel room, me and Jeff with Chris, who was in Erie Hall Horror with his family. We just talked and talked and talked person to person, and it's fascinating. I'm lucky again. I keep saying that, but it's true. Chris had his experience put out there by Jay Ansley when he was a kid. The book came out. That was it. And there were movie after movie. So his experience was defined for him, age of 8 or 9. He could never get it back. He could never correct things. It's done. It's been seen for years. So now he's lying, people say, even though he was there. I don't have that situation. I was on TV on Sci-Fi years ago. People wrote books about me. This time, I'm ready. I said, you know what? I'm going to put down what happened to me experientially. And I don't blame people. People want to make money. I get that. And people use their talents to make money. But I also think that when they do that, they should consider who they're writing about and why they're doing it. I think it's helpful. I think that, we need to have more healing gestures and less aggressive ones.
Agreed. And like you said earlier, you are real people with real lives, and that needs to not be taken for granted and overlooked.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like even with Jeff witness as a child, do you think that's why he was more open to really helping you, or more open to the possibility of, yes, there is paranormal?
I think that's 1/3 of it. I think 1/3 is seeing someone almost dead. What does that mean? 1/3 is his personality. He's just so darn inquisitive. He has to know everything. He would talk to me for hours about my running. Well, what is that called? And how do you do that? What does that mean? And how do you have a good... So it was a fascinating person. He'd run with me and stay up with me. I'm like, this is a pretty cool dude. The third thing was he had in his life, a person in his life who had some difficulties processing information. And so to talk with her, he had to say to her very clearly, what are you experiencing? Why are you saying that? Okay, explain to me what this means. And so in working with her in his childhood, when I came running in the room, oh my God, help, help. What did you see? Why do you think you saw that? So I think those three things, I think his experience with the guy in the paper route, I think his experience with a person in his younger life who had to deal with, who had these processing issues, and I think his personality all made him what he became, and it's fascinating. He was a receptacle of knowledge, he just to this day, I'm amazed by him. He's just a cool guy.
I can tell by the look on your face when you talk about him how important he is to you.
Yeah, is that strange? I didn't know him forever, and then all of a sudden we meet, and then we're like bonded for life. It's just amazing how, again, what's that word? Lucky.
Well, we don't really believe in coincidences here, so.
Right? Meant to be, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, right tool for the right job. There he was. So I can agree with you on that. There he is. I shouldn't call him a tool, should I? It's kind of rude. But you know what I mean.
So I had a question about your running path at the school. Was that something that you only did, or was that kind of a common ground for people that wanted to run out in the woods? I mean, was it a normal place to do that?
It was a running path that the cross-country team went on sometimes. We had 4 or 5 different loops we go to, but I liked that one. So I was there. I just liked, I'm a visual learner, and the campus was up on a hill, and there's a big drop in elevation. You could see for miles the sunsets and the pinks and the purples, the yellows, the lights pop out at night, all the little houses go on. The winter time is beautiful. So I'd run down the hill to see all that. I'd run through the dirt roads, the alfalfa fields, and the forest. I liked that route a lot. But also, it's like the Boston Marathon. The Boston Marathon has a hill called Heartbreak Hill, about 80% into it. And at the end, you have to go up the hill at the end toward the college. It reminded me of the Boston Marathon. So in my head, I'm doing the Boston Marathon. And the wooded area where that tree was right at the bottom of that hill. And so, but I was there all the time, never knowing, never having any clue as to what that might have been. One interesting thing I can tell you that's sad is that I was running right near that tree, and a huge dog, got off its leash and came at me, and I went like this with my hands to protect my neck and my throat. That licked my face, of course, but knocked me over. When it knocked me over, my knee popped. It was numb for a bit. And I kept running on it. I got right to that tree was, and the pain was so severe I had to stop. I had to have surgery on my knee because it's such ironic. My running career ended by that tree within 50 feet of it.
Wow.
Ended. I could still run again, but I can never. Even though they fixed my leg, I can never run as fast as I used to because it would get real tight and pull. So my running career, and then we found out in 2000, whatever it was, about this tree and what it was. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's exactly where I lost everything, right by that tree. And we didn't know about the whole connection to the family until 20 some odd years later. When I spoke to it in the room that last day, I asked it, where are you from? And he said, Danville. And it's in the notes and things. And I thought, where's that? And it turns out that Danville's in Pennsylvania. That's where Thomas Boyd had come from. So that's how he began to put things together. And it wasn't just me. I called it Tommy because I had a parakeet named Tommy and an uncle named Tommy. Paul called it Tommy, like, Tommy, can you hear me? Somebody else called it Tommy because of Tommy knockers. So individually, Jeff went around and each person said, Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. He's like, holy cow. How could every single person independently call it that? So he was convinced that was part of the clue. So between the Dansville connection, the Thomas name, that's how we began to piece things together. And then when the whole relation thing happened, like, oh my gosh, that is just more bizarre than the actual events themselves. So I guess you're right about not having coincidences. It seems like some things are just supposed to be for whatever reason that we suppose they are.
Right.
Bizarre. Bizarre
Really
podcast.
bizarre. That's
Really
why we're
bizarre.
here. So once your family found out this information, like you hadn't spoken to your father about this at all after he came and stayed with you at your dorm. And until this was revealed, until this connection was made.
That's probably odd for people to think about it, because nowadays you post everything on social media. Here's my breakfast. Here's my neighbor's dog. Everything's posted, right? There's no, I have a toothache today. But I wasn't necessarily raised that way. And the thinking was, if it doesn't help anybody, don't say it. There's no point complaining if you have a solution for it. And so there's no solution for it. There's no way to cover it. So we just didn't speak about it. It just remained in the back of our minds forever, And my dad never has liked speaking about it, doesn't like speaking about it. But he said to me, I want to support you, because I was in that room. And I didn't tell you, but I have to tell you that I thought the window was open because I see my breath in the room, but it was closed. The window was closed. The heat was on. There was no way I could possibly have seen my breath, and yet I did. I felt nauseous, like I was going to vomit, but I wasn't sick. It was the strangest thing. There's something by your closet. There was something in there. I was watching this presence. What do? I can't shoot with a gun. I can't scream at me. How do you stop that? He said. So all I think to do is, when you woke up in the morning, tell you, let's go for a run, like we always did. Go for a run. We'll talk a bit. And then I said to you, change your room, which I think is good advice. But the problem is, you can't just do that in college. You can't just say one day, room change. Even if you did try to do that, and say, why? Oh, there's a ghost in my room. Sure, there is. Sure, right? I think it's a practical joke. Kids fool around all the time. And even if I did get out of that room, what if I did and someone goes in that room and doesn't know what's happening to them? What if it happens to them? I mean, my thought was, it was trying to get to me, but what if I'm wrong? And if I'm wrong, then someone else suffers. That's not cool, because I know better than that. I know better than to make someone else suffer because I didn't do my job right, especially as a parent, So my mom always said, Chris, be a good kid, be a good person. My grandma said the same thing. She said to me, count up to 10. I remember my sister Nicole was screaming. She cried a lot. I love her, but she cried a lot as a kid. She's crying. And my grandma said, Nicole, come here. What? Put her face in her hands. Look at me. What? What? She cried. Count to 10. What? Count to 10. 1, 2. She got to 10. She wasn't crying anymore. I thought, what magic is this? I said, Grandma, what happened? She goes, well, if you count to 10, you put space between what happened and now. You realize it's not so bad. I'm like, that's incredible. That's amazing. And so I used that for big races, but for big examinations in school, things like that. And she always said to me, Chris, you're a good person to stay that way. I never forgot that. So my goal in life was always to be, I failed sometimes, but to be a good person.
I could tell that
Do you
that
still
was.
count to 10?
I do, but less now, because I associate now more with that thing than before. Before that thing, the ghost came to my life, I'd use it every day. Now I use it for huge moments. Like, did I really have to use it? Because I'm afraid I use it too much. I might think it's calling, like, oh, I'm back. No. So I'm kind of nervous about doing it. But when things are like someone telling me surgery I care about, things like that, someone's in a car accident, I just calm down. I say a little prayer and I go that way, because I'm older now. People look to me for guidance. I'm a teacher. I'm a dad. I'm a grandpa. I survive these things. I'm on television now, so people look to me for wisdom, which I don't usually have, but I try. So I try to conduct myself in a way that people understand that I'm approachable and that I care.
What I was saying earlier is, it's one of the things I noticed about you is you carried a lot of guilt for what was happening to your friends. Yeah. So that really does say something about your character, that you were dealing with so much, but you.
Can I tell you why? Can I
Sure.
share why?
Absolutely.
One of the students in the dorm committed suicide. They heard the ghost call my name in their head repeatedly, and my friend Craig was with them. He took him camping. He heard it. Took him to the movies. He heard the thing. And so Craig said to me, Chris, your ghost is bothering my friend. I said, well, it's not my ghost. My ghost isn't me. It's somebody else's ghost. And I can't help myself. I talk to him. I'm like, what am I saying? I can't talk to him. What can I say? The priest can't help at the moment. We went to see a professor of psychology. He couldn't help at the moment. I said, I can't say anything to him. I remember seeing that same kid walk out of the dorm, Erie Hall, a couple hours later. Looked very sad. Never saw him again. Took his own life. So how's he doing? He's dead, thanks. What? So between him taking his life, me not lifting a finger to help him, Linda being held down in her bed, Beth being found unconscious on the floor, Brian screaming, "It's on my leg, get off my leg," me being attacked in the shower, bloodied all, thought I was going to die. It was rough because everyone said to me, "It's your ghost." And I couldn't stop them from thinking that. And so the thing is, oh my God, maybe it is my fault. Maybe I did something wrong in a past life. Maybe it is my obligation. I remember talking to God. I said, "You got the wrong guy. I don't know why. This is stupid. You're supposed to be all knowing, all powerful. How can you make a mistake this big?" I just can't do this. I just can't do it. It's over. I'm going to fail. And then ironically, amazingly, it seemed to have worked. The people put faith in me and believed in me, and I just kept stepping forward each day, trying to breathe, trying to look at the sun, trying to get ahead, and somehow, against all fate, somehow, knock on wood, I did it. So, I'm no hero. I was wrong every time. I ran from the thing. I threw things at it. I made mistakes. I was foolish. I was young. But I can tell you I meant well. I meant well. I just tried to be the best person I could be. And luckily with people around me, that was enough.
And that's another thing. You were so young, too. I mean,
teenagers.
A baby.
12, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
What an experience that young, too. Have you had anything like that happen since? Have you felt any kind of presence like that, or even the same presence since then?
Well, I think that once that door is opened, I think it stays open. You can't go back and hit, reboot like in a video game. The priest had said to me, Father Charlie said, "Listen, you are like a beacon. These things are going to find you." Lorraine Warren, through her daughter, said to me, "You have this aura, things that attract, like attracts likes." All through these years, people kept telling me it's going to happen. You like it or not, that's who you are. I remember my grandma, who was so kind to me, said, "Maybe you should be a priest or a pastor. You're so good." And so I always thought that was just part of how people saw me, After the haunting ended, as best as I understand it, I went with my family to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Historic Williamsburg. It's a beautiful place down there for the summertime. It was cool to be out of the college and the warm sun of Virginia and things. And I had to get my shirt on, though, because people see the scratches. I couldn't take my shirt off. But we went to a place where they had a G8 summit. It was Reagan and Mitterrand from France and Margaret Thatcher from UK. I had met there. My mom says, "You like history? Pose for a picture where they stood." So I'm in this old giant room, right? And I'm doing my mom face where I'm like, "Geez," and the flash tube goes off, and I hear boom, boom, like a grandfather clock doing 3 o'clock. It's 11 in the morning. Then I hear a scream. This lady runs past me going, "Ah," with her hair on fire. I'm like, "What is that?" So the picture, I'm like this. And I said, "Did you see that? Did you hear that?" "What?" "No, heard a thing." So back in those days, there was no cell phones. You sent them away to Rhode Island. You got 4x6s, 2 prints, and they came back weeks later. My mom opened the pack. She goes, "Oh my God, look at the picture, Chris." And there I am. There's these 3 clock faces at 3 o'clock floating above my head, these clock faces. And there's a lady with her hair on fire going past me. And she goes, "Look at this." I'm like, "Mom," I got goosebumps. "I don't want to see it." Just like the ghost picture with the skeleton. I didn't want to see that. But then again, look at Krista. Look what Chris saw. So it was at college. It was at home. It was so unusual. It was so unique that people had to share. And that's what always happened. But nothing has ever happened like that, like at the school, thank God, because I don't know if I could do it again. I like to think if I had to, I could, but I don't know. And I don't want that to happen. It might not be a healthy choice that I'm making, but I think it's the best choice for me. I'm not looking for fame. I don't want to prove anything to anybody. I just want to taste my food, music, people
hug people.
What I learned about surviving.
You said you're a dad.
Yes.
And you're married.
Yes.
What do they think with the show and everything?
It's interesting how TV is scripted, but life just is not. My wife and I have been together for 36 years. A beautiful daughter named Susan, an amazing son named Matthew. I have an incredible granddaughter. She's my heart. Her name is Sylvie. And I live for them. My wife doesn't like ghosts or ghost talk or ghost anything, but she supports my decision to share this. She watched the Netflix show by herself, and just watched it. And she said to me, I watched your show. Oh, you did? Because she doesn't usually do those things. I said, what do you think? She goes, well, it's kind of creepy. She said, I'm kind of sad for you. I'm like, why? She goes, you're still there. You're still living there. You're still, every day you're back in those places with those people and those moments. I feel bad for you, but I love you very much and I'm proud of you. So that's how that worked out nicely. You don't have to make people think the same as you think and believe the same as you think to love who they are. The kids were tough, my children. I didn't have any information going to the haunting, and that hurt me. No one's fault. Just I had nothing to hang on to. I was blind. And I thought to myself, my children will be the children of the Ghost Boy. Does that mean they'll have the same things happen to them? I didn't know. I don't want to make them the children of the Ghost Boy. So I never told them about the haunting. I never talked about any of that. But I told them bedtime stories with unicorns and rainbows and castles and knights and kings and queens. And each bedtime story was a scene from my experience. So they could problem solve safely without being burdened by my past. And when I first talked in public in 2012 on the Sci-Fi Channel for School Spirits, my son's like, Dad, all those stories. I'm like, yes, I didn't want to make you prisoner to my experience. So I tried to walk a line of sharing my experiential understanding without making them suffer for what happened to me. My friends didn't know. My friends would go to see Jonathan Edwards. They go to see all these haunting things. They never it was me. They never knew they were talking about me until like, you bastard! I knew you for 20. You didn't say anything. I love this stuff. I want your autograph. But I didn't know how to express myself. And with my kids, I'm hoping that they can endure this because now Daddy's out there and Grandpa's out there and all over the world, and I'm getting the fan mail, and I'm doing lovely podcasts and things. So they're going to be approached about this for many years. And I hope that I've been able to raise them in a way where they like who they are. They're confident in what they know, that I love them, and that whatever said about me, good or bad, they know I tried my best. So there's that. Sorry, I brought the room down. Sorry.
No, it's great. It's great.
We have so many questions.
Yeah, we have to
so
narrow
many
them
of
down.
in one. Yeah,
Right.
You're really good at answering questions before we ask them. It's kind of crazy. You have a
It's intuitive. It's intuitive.
It
I watch
must
people's
be.
faces. I hear the tone in their voice and say where they're going with that. That's why I try to be a good teacher the same way. I try to let them know, look, I can't make you learn. You have to want to learn. But if you want to, I'll get everything for I can give you 100%. So if you want to pick my brain all day, all night, but I can't do somersaults. I'm not going to play games because it's your choice to make in life. And that's how I do it. And hopefully I have 1 more year to go, 29 years down, 1 to go. And then I can, just travel around and see people and go places. I think it'd be a nice thing.
And you did finish your studies at Geneseo?
I did actually, yeah. The year after, Jeff and I moved over to Wayne Hall, which is the farthest you can get on campus without being by that dorm. It's across the hall. You have to walk across the streets and things like that. Because I wanted to finish there. I love Geneseo. It's a beautiful town, gorgeous, nice people. I love the classes. It's just that thing got in the way. And so I never went back to Erie Hall that whole entire year after that. I wouldn't look in that direction. I wouldn't even discuss it because as a friend look over, I'd see it in the window with this tilted head. Like, no, I didn't. I just believed I helped, but I wasn't sure. And that was kind of scary. And I just, you're a kid. It's interesting too about belief because faith means you believe without seeing. You have faith that tomorrow will come up. You have faith in the person you love. You have faith in your spirituality. I don't have faith. I saw life after death. There's no faith for me. Good or bad, I know what I know. There wasn't harps and little baby angels and clouds, and it wasn't like I wanted it to be, but it was something. And it's fascinating to go back and think what that means for me. If there is some test of faith, I would fail it because there is no faith. It's experience. So I wonder. Another thing you wonder about if you go through these things, what does that mean? You wouldn't ask that question if you were just pretending. You wonder about even your fate, your soul, whatever that would be, And so I think that's just an interesting thing how that works. But yeah, we did graduate, which is a really cool thing, and we got to live our lives. Jeff is crazy cool. He works in the rare books archive, kind of like the X-Files, all the underground caverns he goes through, and he has the
Oh,
books from
I see
1800s
it.
and things like that. And he analyzes and catalogs them. It's fascinating. Craig always liked nature, and he works for the Department of Conservation, where he tends to the forest and things like that, and runs through and rides his bike to the fields. And Linda, who tried to save those little girls and couldn't do that with the lightning struck, she just gives herself to everybody. She sometimes teaches, she does Girl Scouts, she gives to everybody she can. I mean, it's amazing that we didn't know it happened, but in some respects, where we're supposed to be right now. You could look back and say, you know what, that all makes sense, and here we are. So I think that part's pretty cool.
So there wasn't a whole lot about Beth. I mean, there was a lot, but it was a very small amount. Did she just not want to be a part of all of this?
I'm going to be discreet best I can.
Okay.
Beth actually appeared in the Sci-Fi School Spirit show back in 2012, and she spoke about her experience. But I don't think that she liked doing that. I don't know if she got feedback from people back home. I don't know what exactly happened, but she opted out just as a personal choice. Because she had spoken publicly about this in the past, a few times, the Netflix could then use that and say, let's use that because she's on record of saying that. So that's why you don't hear her as an adult speaking in the interview style, but they have her experiences being shown because it's already been established that she said these things occurred. That's how they did that. Not everybody wants to talk about these things. One of the people who was at the college is now a minister in a Korean church. And that church says there's no such thing as, good spirits, they're all bad. And so he can't then go and say, well, I spoke with the dead and all these things, because that would be bad for his situation, his spot, and for people's reputation of him. So not everyone can or wants to speak. But I think it was pretty good that, Father Charlie and Father Charles Manning, oh my gosh. When we met him, I hoped he'd be like 9 feet tall with a shock of hair, like, but he was just some guy. I'm like, huh? A young guy. I'm like, that's weird. And at first he was not mean, but he was kind of curt, like, what are you on? What are you doing? I'm like, what? I couldn't understand that. But then I realized he's doing it because he wants to help. If I am doing drugs, if I am drinking, I don't tell him that, he can't help me. What he was doing was investing in me. But I'm in my own personal spot of being very sensitive at that moment, right? And afraid. It was brilliant. And I said to him, are you going to go to the room? He goes, yes, I am. I'm going to go there to fix your stereo. I'm like, it's not broken. He goes, I know that, but I can't tell the RD at the front. I'm here to exercise the room. So I read the notes as a stereo. Brilliant. So he came as a stereo repair guy. That's what he came as. And then he got in the room to get stuff out and his candles and the oil from my forehead and things. Brilliant how those things operate, and whew, it's really cool. Dr. Lawrence Kastler, professor of psychology at the college, he's the one that explained to us how to obtain an EVP, how to do that. He talked to Jeff and I and coached us to how to do those things. So there were adults, but he passed away about 15 years ago. So they really can't, use that. But just fascinating things, just now is the time. And Father Charles Manning, they looked for him for many years. I was on a show called Coast to Coast AM. I don't know if you heard of that or not, but it's on overnight. And I always thanked him forever. And I want to thank Father Charles Manning if you're out there, and if he's alive or dead. He was getting wheeled from surgery into the recovery room. And that show was on the radio. And he heard his name. He's like, that's me, turn it up. He couldn't believe it. And when he reached out to me and he said, I want to thank you. I said, no, let me thank you. You saved us. Our room was free from this thing. No, let me tell you, he said, I was a priest for 30 some odd years. I did baptisms and weddings and blessings, all these things. Now I'm retired and nobody comes to see me. I started to think, did I do it right? Did I do the right thing? Did I matter? And he said, getting wheeled out of the recovery room, hearing my name in a nationwide broadcast saying thank you so many years later, it made it all worth it. So it goes to show you, you never know the impact you have on people. You never know how you affect them, but it's been a beautiful thing sharing. I never thought it would be beautiful, but here again, I'm always wrong and lucky, but it was. And I think it goes down to, again, I just want to say thank you to him, and that worked.
Yeah, I was wondering, because he did mention that he doesn't believe in ghosts. And I was wondering if that is how he was treating it, was as an exorcism in a way,
Yeah,
exorcising the room itself.
I had no knowledge of the words to use because I didn't what ghosts even were. And I asked him, "Is this an exorcism?" He goes, "Is the ghost in you?" I'm like, "No, then this is a blessing. A blessing means I'm there for you and the ghost." And I asked the ghost to find rest some other place so that you can find peace of mind, and so can the ghost. And the weird thing is, there's no science with this. He had the oil on my forehead. He said his prayers. He had a little bit of incense. There was no like in the movies with like fire bombs and dragon feet. There's nothing like that, you know. It's nothing. It was just a ceremony. And yet, after that, there are no flashing clocks. There are no breezes, no whispers, no shadows. It worked. And I thought to myself, how does it work? And I said, wait, better not ask that question. Let's just appreciate the fact it worked and move on. If you say to somebody, why do you love me? They might not know. Wait, why do I love you? Don't ask the question. If they love you, enjoy their love and just accept that and move on. Don't question everything. So I never questioned how it worked. I can just tell you that for the most part, it did work. And I asked him, can it get back in the room? He said, only if it invited back in. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Of course, it did happen.
I know, I'm just so fascinated. I feel bad for taking so
I
much
know.
time.
And
I don't mind. Listen, this is great for me. It's cathartic for me. You're kind people. You're asking questions people need to know about the answers to. So I love being here. This is no burden for me. Believe me. I'm old now. I could be gone tomorrow for all we know, right? So I treat every interview as last interview just in case. And I just want people to know, not to give up.
well, this
So
is
how do you?
I was just going to say, this is like our biggest deal yet. So we were super nervous about this. We're like, oh, we don't want to mess this up. We want to do a good job, but we still want to maintain who we are and be, the relaxed environment.
Nice, right? I've been nice to you. I'm good, right? I'm behaving.
Awesome. We appreciate you putting up with us.
No, your questions are awesome. They really are. I'm not being patronizing. They're awesome questions.
Ooh, I found one. What were you going to say though, Montana?
Just how do you deal with hate? Like people don't believe you and stuff. So I'm sure you get that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that hate comes from fear. I really do. And fear is a natural human emotion. If somebody had told me before it happened to me what happened to me, I would not believe them. That's just not possible. I don't understand that. So you're not seeing things correctly. Someone's confusing you. You're being manipulated. I wouldn't have bought it. Just like Craig said, that's a fact. Going through things like that allows you to see the world differently, to judge slower, to listen more. There are some people who say some mean things, especially on like Reddit or places like that. It's like, woo, they're rough. Sometimes on TikTok and things, Chris was weak then and he's weak now. I'm like, hey, I'm right here. They're like, but once they know you're there, like, oh no, I'm just that. It's amazing. I spend hours a day just talking to people on all the formats, just saying hello and asking their questions because I want them to know I'm not an actor. It's not a show. And you'll be surprised. I think of 91 encounters that were negative and 1,000 been positive. Everyone but one, I'm friends with them now, and we talk. And I say, no, it's okay to feel that way. I feel the same way. You're making a logical choice, but let me explain something this way. Like, that's right. And so I don't begrudge them that. The personal attacks can be tough, but again, they don't know who I am, and that's okay. Once in a while, people will yell, you're the devil, or repent, and that's okay. I just tell them I try my best. Pray for me, please. Pray for me. And I appreciate that too. There's no hate in my heart. I don't speak to convince or to indoctrinate. I share in the hopes that people benefit from what I share. That's it. And if 3 or 4 people go home and say to their husbands or wives or moms or kids, I love you, give me a hug. Or, you know what? I hear you better now and I'm here for you, then I've done my job.
I like it. So I had a question about your nightmares. So on the show, it said that you had trouble differentiating when you were sleeping or when you were awake. Do you feel like that was something like sleep paralysis? Do you think it was solely due to the stress you were going through? Was it this thing influencing your mind? What do you think about that?
I have to be subjective here. I only know what I know. I'm not an expert on, psychology and things like that, but I know the following things. I know that I wasn't sleeping well. I know that I wasn't eating well. I know that mentally and emotionally I was not well. And when that happens to you, for whatever reason there is, it's hard to function. I don't care how strong you are, how fast you run, how smart you are, if you can't understand your environment, you really can't do well in it. And so I'll be the first person to tell you that it was a hard time just to be. Ed and Jeff and Craig, because they're tripled for a while, allowed me to sleep on the floor in their room. I was just happy to be out of that room because Paul had left. And even though I was on the hard floor with a pillow and my feet were sticking out, it was cold, I didn't care because I felt safe. And I knew something. I knew if something happened, they would see it. Rather than being alone, if something did happen, they would be able to react to what they would hear or see or experience like that. So I remember I had this dream, just like you saw, where the thing pulled me through the wall. And I woke up. I'm like, I said, did I scream? What, did I scream? No, you didn't scream. Okay, well, back in the dream. Happened again. I woke up screaming. Did I scream? No, you're not screaming. Third time. Okay, you screamed that time. Stop it. It just kept happening over and over, and what I would see, and it was like they showed it. And when you're being dragged across a floor, there's nothing to hold on to. It's just loose. It's like slippery tiles. There's nothing. There's the blankets. You just go through. Oh my gosh. And so I was burdening them because they couldn't sleep. So I went out to the common area, and there was a vending machine there. There was a Pepsi machine and Coke, and there was like candy and things. I stepped there because every once in a while, to keep the drinks cold, the refrigerator goes on. It goes bzzz, and it cools the drinks down. I'd wake up. I hear the sound like, okay, I'm here. Where am I? What's going on? The thing isn't here. So every half hour, I'd wake up, be forced to wake by the sound, so I wouldn't sleep too long and then get attacked. That's just bizarre, right? Because that's where I was. And I remember they were talking about trying to find bin Laden, trying to find Gaddafi. They'd go from place to place. Well, I'm not them, but I know what it feels like to be hunted, at least in your mind. You got to keep moving from place to place to place. And I had to balance being helpful and being a burden. I did not want to be a burden to anybody. So, but those dreams were difficult, and they would repeat. It would be the same dream over and over and over. In fact, the early morning that I did finally talk to this thing, I'd woken up from that dream just covered in sweat. My mouth was bleeding. I must bit my lip during the dream. I'm like, I'm bleeding. I'm sweating. Like, this is crazy. So I went to go take a shower, and there was Craig. He's like, dude, you got to do something with this. And I remember trying to not have my back towards him to remind him of the scratches and things. I had to keep all these things secret. It was very, very difficult to do. I couldn't wear a shirt sometimes because the shirt would catch on the bandages and tear them off. Then they bleed again and things. It was so crazy that I had to go through. So I wore like loose fitting shirts, oversized shirts, or I'd sit in the room by myself with no clothes on, like going, okay, here we are. This is great. They'll be outside passing frisbees back and forth. We are the world. They're out in their blankets and they're falling in love. I'm like, this sucks. That just sucks with this, grass. It was really ridiculous. I remember I met a person a couple of years ago. I was walking through a mall in Pennsylvania, just walking through a mall, and the guy says, oh my God, you're the Ghost Boy, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, give me a hug. I'm like, oh, what's going on here, right? Give me a hug, right? He's like, big dude. I'm like, okay. He goes, oh, when I was a kid, I read about you in the paper, and you had the ghost in your room, right? So I would wrestle. I'd say, I am the Ghost Boy, putting people in headlocks. I loved you and Spock and Luke Skywalker. Was it cool? Was it fun to be you? I said to him, no. And I explained to him the difficulty of what happened. But you know what? He proved a point in that moment. He didn't know me. He was hundreds of miles away. He was hoping for me. He was cheering for me. He was thinking of me. And I thought, you know what? I was never truly alone. I was never truly alone.
Great way to look at it.
Did you have PTSD with the shower?
I can't spell it, but I know I have it.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good question.
It's interesting because that's the worst place to be. Because in the shower, it's slippery floors, right? There's no weapons. You got nothing on you. The water runs over your hair, it runs over your eyes, over your ears. That's the most vulnerable you are. And to have it happen there was, I thought at the time, how evil, how nasty it would do that. I mean, it had to know this was a time that would not be good for this. And there it was, and at first I thought I was stabbed with a knife because I was numb. If you cut your finger making salad and things like that, it's a clean cut, so you don't feel it right away. But put it in water, get cold, right? It's going to sting a lot. So at first when the attack came, I felt like I stabbed in the back. And I turned to fight. And the shower curtain was there, and I strung out. The shower curtain came ripping down over my body and things. I'm screaming, show yourself, you coward. Nothing. And I thought to myself, well, if I pull the knife out, will I bleed out? If I don't pull it out, will it organ if it stays in my body? Like, what do you do? So I looked above the bathroom sinks. There were the mirrors there to brush your teeth and comb your hair and things. And then I saw there was no knife. There were these three, it wasn't five, it was 3 scratches. And they went from right about here down to my waist. And I was like, what is that? And I felt so bad for the kid in the mirror. It was like disassociation. I'm like, it's over for him. He's done. He's not going to make it. And I thought, why? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't lie. I didn't cheat. I didn't steal. I was a good guy. I felt bad for myself. And I thought, wait, that's not right. Look at all the people in the Holocaust. Little kids got killed in the Holocaust. They asked for help. They didn't get it. So why should I? I said, I'm just going to die now. I'm just going to die. And that's what my fate is. And I told my mom had given up everything to have me. I thought, my poor mom. I'm a teenager. She's going to bury her teenage son. So I thought to myself, when you die, just make a calm face so she can at least think that I was at rest rather than like a horrible face. So as I fell on the ground to die, I just said, make a calm face so mom doesn't worry about me that I suffered. Again, those are the only kind of thoughts you think when you're in that moment because there's nothing else left to think about. So, and I'm sure that if you had come in your life, you realized, now what? And that's when Jeff opened the door and I heard the sticker marks on the floor, and then people came running in and found me. And oh, you were naked. I didn't care. I was dead. I didn't really care if people saw me or not. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. It's just, again, you just think different in that moment. Thank you for saving my life.
Unbelievable how when you're talking about this, your mind just, it never rested. You were always weighing the options and trying to rationalize things.
I didn't know what would save me. It might be just a random thought. So I had to make sure everything was observed, everything was recorded. To this day, you can give me a date or a place, and I can tell you what they're wearing, what they said to people, who was in the room, what time it was, what song was in the radio, because I was taking snapshots. Because I really thought I was going to be killed. We were going to die. It wasn't like fun. We weren't resting. I thought, this is death. Death is here. And if I'm going to survive, I better pay attention because I can't miss that one thing that would save us all. I know it sounds odd to say that out loud, but that's where I was. And I think because my friends knew I loved them back, they were there for me too.
And watching the show for the first time, like the first couple minutes, like I'm not going to lie, I thought you already were passed away the way they were talking about you. Like that's why I was like afraid. I was like, oh my God, so are they telling his story because he died? So like I was really happy that wasn't the case.
Me too.
But that's what I thought because they were talking about you almost in past tense. And
yeah,
I was worried for a minute, but
thank you. My son was too. It's like, wait, aren't you in this? What happened? Because like I know you're here, and I showed the Netflix show to my school today. If the students behave properly, they have to go to the cafeteria today. And we showed the Netflix series, and then when they finally showed me, like, yay, DiCesare, yay! People worry, and that's nice that people worry because they don't know me, but that speaks to your compassion of saying, is someone gone? Did someone get hurt? That's not good. It's nice that people care enough about someone they don't know. That speaks to the possibility that maybe we can all be that way someday and hate less and fight less. And when 9/11 happened, there was rice in the mail. There were planes knocking into buildings. We didn't know what was going on. But for a few weeks, we were all Americans. Didn't matter the R or the D or the I. Didn't matter. We were all human beings trying to survive, to love. It's a shame that it takes that for something like that to happen. Luckily for my friends and I, we had a smaller version of that. We made it through because 9/11 wasn't that way for everybody.
You're really creeping me out. Only because when you were talking about how your thought processes were going when you thought you were going to die, I was sick a few weeks ago and went down the 9/11 rabbit hole. I was watching a lot of documentaries on it about people's experiences, and this one woman just stuck out to me, and she almost said word for word what you just said. Like she stopped and she thought she was going to die. She was getting consumed by the ash, and she's like, at least my parents are going to get me whole. Like at least I'm a whole person. I'm not like dismembered or this or that. And she said she just felt peace. And she's like, I just need to calm myself and lay down, and this is it. That's just,
Yep.
it's wild. It's wild
It's
how.
unfortunate that she had to go through that, or any of us when we go through those things, but that's the human experience. That's why I was saying to you before, the idea of connecting. When you talk to someone, you begin to know who they are. You begin to form a relationship, even if distant, even if temporary. There's a relationship right now. We're friendly. We're communicating. We care for each other, and that's a beautiful thing. That becomes a moment. We have a moment now. As I was saying before, I see a lot of people out there making money and doing these things and traveling around and saying things that are not very helpful. That's free will, but I want to counter that. I don't want to go out there and have these pretend haunted dolls and have this pretend this and pretend that and put a black shirt on and cross my arms and get a logo and shave my head and I'm a badass now. That's not who I am, and I don't think that that's who anybody really is. And if they were serious about what they were doing, they would pull away from that and say, "This is who I am, and my name is this, and here's why I do this," and not just to like say that you're possessed every 10 minutes or you're going to this place to knock down graves. Again, I don't mean to criticize people. It's just I'm hoping that with the show, James Wan had said he wanted to redefine the genre, where it's not just like explosions and demons and death. He wanted to bring it back to its core, its roots of what really happens to people when these things occur. It's not all that. There's no CGI really much in there. It's not like we're not like superhuman creatures, or it's just people trying to get through a moment and how that affects us as friends. And that's why I bought into it, because we talked for a while, and then when they said there's that movie Stand By Me, dun 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 dun, that was River Phoenix in that, right? And they're all trying to find this body. It's not about the body. It's about learning about each other as they walk down the railroad tracks. So that's where the inspiration came for my friends and I. They're going to say, here are the friends. And that's actually the most important thing. And then we go, there is a ghost there, but what do friends do? How do they fill each other up? How do you, because in the end, ghost or no ghost, the friendships are still there to be had. And then when we speak on Saturday, they're all going to see that. They're all going to see us on that little stage talking about being friends. It'd be a nice thing.
It's amazing
the
that you're doing
opposite
that.
of Zach Baggins.
Yeah, I was thinking that there have been, because we cover stuff like this, and there have been so many times that I've been like a third of the way into my research and I find something that's completely debunking that it's even true, and I have to scrap it. I'm like, I can't cover something that I don't believe in. So that's happened a few times. It's just.
And you both know you don't have activity all the time, everywhere, nonstop. Those TV shows cannot be showing an accurate reflection. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. That's not nature. If it was, we'd all have experiences and cell phone photos. We'd be talking to our grandma who died 40 years ago, and it doesn't quite work that way. We have arguments with people, what we can see and feel and touch and hold. We have arguments sometimes, right? It's like, oh, what a jerk. And we can hear them clearly. Imagine, and we still have confusion. Oh, I misunderstood what you said. I'm sorry about that. Now there's this veil. You can't quite hear as good, or see as good, or know as good. It just logically follows that you're not going to know everything walking into a room. You walk in, okay, it's a spirit. He's 36. He's a Protestant. He's married 3 times. He's like, I wish it's not that easy, in real life. So there are people who are very gifted, who do have the gift to sense, and that's really a cool thing. But there's always that temptation to want to benefit from that. And well, come next time for $10 more, I'll do this. And then people love that. And they need me to do this for them. So I'll keep doing that for them. And it becomes this unhealthy relationship where they follow you and they hang on your word and they pay to hear you talk. And all of a sudden it becomes this unhealthy construct where I have to perform, otherwise let them down now. So I have to create these things. And now I'm a public figure, and I have to forget about what really is and what they need to have the experience. And all of a sudden you get this Alice in Wonderland effect where, what? But it shows you people want something in their lives. They're looking for some kind of understanding or meaning, but you don't have to use bells and whistles. You don't have to spend $10,000 on a set. You just can go shake their hand and say, how you doing?
Right? Yeah. So what did this thing look like? Did they depict it correctly? I know a lot of times when you were talking about it, it was like a shadow form, but were you able to make out what it looked like? What did it have features? Did it have distinct things you can remember?
I saw it in 3 different ways. The first time I saw it was out of a window during the toga party, and it looked like a soldier coming back from war, just like disheveled. The clothes I couldn't recognize. I said, I don't know, Jeff, what it was. I Maybe it could be jeans, maybe it's leather or something, maybe it's I had no clue what kind of clothes it was wearing because I couldn't recognize the clothing. And so I thought maybe escape from mental, maybe it's someone broke free from mental asylum and was running across the campus. Like, ooh, that's weird, and it looked like we're dancing on his grave. He looked so angry in the window, like he's furious at things. So I'm like, ooh, I'm not gonna go that way. I took to Jeff, and he didn't see anything. It's the first time I saw anything. But the one thing I noticed about him was his head was kind of tilted like that. So it's weird, like he's looking from the side of his, of his eyes. The next time, and usually when I saw it, it was less disheveled. It looked like a human being, a young man, probably Caucasian. I don't know, a little taller than me, like most people are. But again, with the neck just like this, tilted, as though the neck was snapped or broken. That was the giveaway. When Paul that night said there's someone in the room, like they show in episode 1, he said it's got a tilted neck, and we knew right then, boom, what that was. That's when I knew for sure it wasn't in my head because I hadn't told him that. He was seeing it independently. That was a huge moment for me because I thought, yes, I'm not crazy. Oh, wait, this is worse. It's a dead thing in the room. So I went from like, yeah, oh no.
What is
It was a
worse
real
at that
short
point?
celebration, I was like, not crazy, and we're going to die. And then every once in a while, it would appear to me naked, just like bloody, with the guts falling out and the eyeball gouged out and the mouth like the Joker. Just like, I thought, this thing is evil. Why would it do that? Why would it show me this version of itself? It was trying to like torment me. I had no idea. For decades, it was showing me who he really was. And again, not in the show. The show was very accurate, except for a couple of dates and the final scene. Greg said to me, you got to face this thing. So in the shower, I said, okay. So I went to get my shirt. I said, no, you're going in your birthday suit, the way God made you. You're going to leave your clothes behind. You're going to go in there, no power ties, no jewelry, just as you are, and talk to it. So I was in that room butt-ass naked. I'm like, this is smart. My back's all cut up. I got nothing. This is so dumb. I thought, if people see this happening and think, yeah, I'm being controlled, but really I was making the choice to just be brave. And I went in the room and I kept my hips turned to the door because I knew from sports that your hips control your motion. Just in case I had my bet, I had to kind of turn to the door, and there it was. There it was, and it looked the same. It was just had nothing on, or just bleeding, but there's no smell. There was no odor to it, just freezing cold like a freezer. And I could never see, like, his thighs and feet were always gone. I never could see his thighs ever, just were gone. And I wondered two things. The first thing is, that was a Casper with a point in the bottom. Maybe you don't see ghost feet that much. The second thing I thought was that we find out years later that he died. He could run fast, that they caught him and captured him. And I always ran. And I always thought he wanted to, like, maybe take my body to run, like another chance to escape from the fate. And I'll make no bones about it. I was that guy who streaked through the hallways like, "Woo, we're going streaking." That was me. I had no shame for my body. But when that thing was in the room, I covered up. The way it looked at me, it felt wrong. I felt like I had to cover me up because I felt like it wanted to, like, not sexually, but just wanted to, like, own me. It craved the legs that ran so fast. What it didn't have, I had. And I think part of it wanted to maybe go back in time somehow and then survive this time and not have the enduring pain. I don't know exactly what ghosts think or feel, but that's the impression I got in those moments. So very fascinating, and
Yeah.
then to find out years later that, they caught him, he ran too slow, and that would have, if he had run faster, he would have lived. And there I am. And then to find out the relations and the generations, just amazing things. I know that what I say might sound odd to some people, and that's fair. All I can do is tell them this is my experience as it happened, and hopefully they get some value from it.
Well, it is definitely a captivating story. Hence why we're here. A lot to ponder on with this one. So would you like to let people know where they can follow you, where they can contact you, any of that before we sign off tonight?
Sure. I usually stay by my PS5 here and play Elder Scrolls Online.
I was actually going to ask. I saw those controllers. I'm like, I play PlayStation. I actually play ESO too.
I love it.
There we
go. Of course, I'm Erie Hall Ghost Boy, of course, so that's a big surprise.
But, that is awesome. How long have you been playing it?
Right? Oh, my friend got me.
Sorry, Montana.
And stuff like that about 4 or 5 years ago during COVID. I'm like, I don't want that. You playing it? No. So just to make him happy, I started playing it, using it. I'm like, this is great. And I had like 11,000 hours. It's like but if people want to see me, Facebook, I'm on Facebook, Chris DiCesare, DICES area, right there. I have an Instagram account that I use sometimes. I have a TikTok, but I don't upload videos yet. I'm new to all this stuff, but I try to interact and be for people. But I'm very approachable. I'll talk to anybody. If people want me at an event, I go through my publisher because I can't keep track of things. So it's CITA Ventures, one word. His name is Bill, it's my publisher, and they can reach out and book me for things. And I always like to say hello to people, and I go out and speak. I like to go out and meet people in person and shake their hand, give them a hug. I don't know why people like to talk to me, so I like talking back to them. It's such a great experience to. I don't want to sound like an odd person, but when someone shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, and they smile, they give you a hug, it's just nice. It's just a nice thing, and so I appreciate that. So anybody who wants to come say hello, as long as I'm here for you, and if I can help you, aces.
Yeah, hugs are a rare thing nowadays, so that's probably why it's extra special too.
You can't do that. You do side hugs. People don't offended by anything, but hey, if they're there, I'll give them a hug. It's they want a high five, they want a fist bump, whatever you need. Hey, what's up, dude? That's fine. I just like the fact people can still. Well, I told you, my grandma said be a nice person, and she would hug me all the time. My mom, the same thing. So for me, a hug is not sexual. It is not controlling. It is not, constraining. For me, a hug is saying to somebody, I love you and you're pretty cool.
And you care.
Yeah.
Yeah, my boyfriend was the one that reached out to you because he believes in the stuff, but doesn't really.
Yeah. Normal, right?
But your story captivated him so much that I didn't even know he reached out.
Yeah, that's nice of him.
So that says a lot about him. So, and we really appreciate this.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope I was helpful to you. I'm always around if you need something. I appreciate both of you. And this is the truth. If I didn't value what you're doing, I wouldn't be here. And if I didn't know how cool you both were and how kind and wonderful, I wouldn't be here for an hour and a half. So this is the truth.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Aww.
So
he's got the good old heart. The good old heart, not this stuff.
I still do this one.
Heck, well, it's a millennial thing too. Yeah. I don't know.
You can do this too if you want, but I don't know if it's good.
I couldn't see it. Oh, we like the nerds around here.
You're
pretty cool.
Right up Jessica's alley.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time for our little podcast. We appreciate it so much. We could say that all day and all night and still mean it equally every time. And
it means a lot to us.
It really does. It really does. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. And hopefully maybe we'll see you sometime in the real world.
Cool,
and we can get hugs.
Yes. One vote, yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can also reach out to us anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to your viewers out there, please stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye, Chris. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, Chris. Well, thank you guys for all the love and support. We really appreciate it. This was such a blast doing with Chris. And we still appreciate the continued support. Go support him. Go check out the Netflix series, True Haunting. It's really creepy. You probably don't want to watch it at night. That's what I did. It's really creepy.
Yeah, I watched it during the day by myself and I was still terrified. So I was hiding behind my pillow.
And it's really nice. We actually got to talk to him so he could share his story. It's amazing.
Unbelievable. Still sinking in that this actually got to happen today.
I'm like, is this how celebrities feel when they meet another celebrity? Do they get butterflies? I don't know.
Aww.
I don't know. But thank you again, Chris. And for Weekly Bizarre Podcast, you can find us on all the social medias. You can support us on Patreon. It's only $5 a month at patreon.com/weeklybizarre, so we can keep doing cool things like this. But if not, we truly appreciate the support. If you want to go rate and review us, that would help us out too. If you don't want to give us a 5-star, just ignore the rating. That's fine. You can email us at weeklybizarrepodcast@gmail.com. And if it's weird,
we're going to talk about it. Bye, guys.